José Bermejo has spent 2 decades studying why elite performers hit invisible ceilings and how to break through them. He's a strategic advisor to C-suite executives, trained at ISA, Harvard, and MIT, with deep expertise in behavioral psychology and decision-making frameworks. But here's what matters for the next 45 minutes. José has built his career on understanding how humans actually make high-stakes decisions, not how we think they do. He's about to reveal the 4 patient archetypes, their hidden decision triggers, and why the biggest barrier to case acceptance has nothing to do with your dentistry. This is the human connection. Let's welcome José Bermejo.
Hi everyone, this is José Bermejo. Thank you so much for joining all of us today, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. So many people around and so many experts and dentists. Around 300 people you are right now. So today I'm going to talk about human connection. It's great that we had before Christian and Luken because they both did a great introduction to the topic. And I'm very excited about this session because basically it's putting together my 15 plus years of experience doing sales and leading teams in businesses, and with everything that I've learned about how do we make decisions. And I remember back in my days when I started in sales, everyone wanted to work with me in sales, and I was wondering why. And then all of a sudden I learned that I was asking questions and shutting my mouth when I was in front of the clients rather than speaking all the time. And that made me really understand what was going on in the mind of the clients. And so today I'm going to put everything together for you all, and hopefully it will bring some light on how to bring that, or make a bridge in between us and the human that we have in front of us, which is what at the end of the day is going to make us also increase the case acceptance rate, because it's all about human connection. So I'm going to drive you through the 4 patient archetypes and how they elevate and how to present or evaluate, how they evaluate your treatment plan. So you present your treatment. What I've seen, most of us present your treatment, and it also happened to me back in my days when I was pitching, in the same way to all the patients, right? But patients, they make decisions fundamentally in different ways. So what that means is that we cannot pitch or we cannot present the treatment in the same way. The problem basically is a mismatch. It's a mismatch in between. It's a mismatch in between the way we approach the treatment pitch and the treatment defense, which Luken was talking previously, and the way they are digesting and processing information, because we all have different ways of processing the information based on what happened in our life, specifically in our first 25 years of life. It's how our brains have been built, and so we assess information in a very different way. So that's basically the question that changes everything. I would like you to think about, and this is a question that we're going to drop in the chat, about the last time that you had a 10K plus case, US dollars case, rejected. And, what was the feeling that you were having, and what was the feeling of the person that they were having, in the sense of there was some sort of hesitation on their minds, or what types of questions they were asking. They were enthusiastic, they were pushing, they were hesitating. What was their state of being and their state of mind and their energy? I'm very curious to know about that. This is, by the way, I love to ask questions to keep you all engaged. It's the way that I like to do all these sessions and connect, because it's about human connection, right? Fear, yeah. I appreciate it. That's the word. So thank you so much for your answers. But yeah, that's the fundamental thing that is running our decisions. It's fear. At the end of the day, there is an invisible filter that is blocking our human connection even before it starts. This invisible barrier, we have in front of us a person that is going to make a decision. By the way, it's a high risk decision because it's a decision in which I have to, put a lot of money. Maybe I'm thinking about all the pains. Maybe it's taking a lot of time. Maybe it's going to change my smile. It's going to make me different, right? And so it's a big risk that I'm taking, right? And so what is that invisible filter that is in between the person in front of us and us? Well, it's basically the ego. It's our egos. But it's not the ego. What do I mean by the ego? It's the identity we protect. It's not the arrogance. It's not the pride. There is a big misunderstanding on the ego. But when I talk about the ego, it's about the psychological construct that has the algorithm of how our mind works, on how we behave, how do we assess if there is risk, if there is not risk, and then shapes our personality, how do we engage with people, right? And so, well, for some of us, it can be, this internal voice in which we're thinking, I'm the expert, I know what's best, they should trust me. None of that is wrong, right? You are the expert, actually, for sure. But there is a problem with this. The problem with this holding on that self-identification and that inner voice and that, expert voice that for sure you have earned in all your life and you deserve it, I'm not saying the contrary, is that the more we hold in our identity and in that inner voice, the less space we create for others to come in and to have this conversation. That inner voice is that invisible barrier that I was talking about. Right? So the more we hold into our identity, our need to be the expert, our need to be right, our need to be respected, the less space we create for the others. And this is not just about this business. It happens in everything in life. Right? We can translate this to every aspect of our life. And when patients don't feel space for their concerns, for their fears, for their identity, we're here for the identity of the patient, not for our identity, so they don't say yes. Basically, what we have to do is to do something that validates their identity, that is not threatening for them. That's the way in which we break barrier and we break that invisible barrier. So here's the shift that I want you to remember. Case acceptance isn't about getting patients to say yes. Case acceptance is about helping them say yes to themselves. And so you are here for them. And so you show them the case in a way that fits how they see life, all the risks that they are thinking, all their concerns that they are having. And that's going to get them to say yes. Because they can say yes to all their concerns they have. So once you support that space for them, then you're going to get a yes. So another tricky question that I know Christian loves this question. Be honest with yourself. So when a patient questions your recommendation or mentions getting a second opinion, sorry, what? Yeah, sure. So someone is asking me for an example, right? So I remember when we are pitching, right? And so defending a treatment plan, it's kind of pitching, right? We're explaining, and so what we have to do when we are discussing the treatment, and not just in this space of treatments, but also in other, industries, in sales, what we do is to ask them for every piece of the slide deck that we're presenting when we're presenting the treatment, we ask them what I call the discovery questions. And so, for example, if we are showing them one piece of the deck, we are going to ask them if they understand, if there is any concern till now, or even deeper questions like, do you think that you would need your partner to check it out, or how are you thinking about financing this? Ask many questions about the situation of the patient, right? And so when you are asking those questions, you are giving them permission to, you know, to let it out and to give you the information you need, so then you can help them, because helping them is what's going to get you to sale. So that's an example. Now, let me introduce you to the 4 types of patients that you can see every day, right? And why you are probably losing one of them. And I'm saying this with a lot of confidence. You are probably losing one of them, at least, of these archetypes. And by the end of this presentation, you're going to know why you're losing one of them. I'm going to tell you. So, you present the treatment the same way to every patient. You show up with the same energy, personality, yourself. You've developed your style, like all of us, but people make decisions fundamentally in different ways. And when we mismatch and we don't understand how do we make decisions, is when, you know, we can then have a no and not close the case. So this framework is built on 2 dimensions. The first dimension is the decision driver. Does the patient trust their own judgment? Is it internal or external? Is in the upper side, right? And that means if this patient needs external validation to make a decision, a high stakes decisions like this one, it's a big treatment, it's a high ticket treatment, or does it follow their own dictate? They are internally driven by the decisions. So that's the first. And the second is, how do they respond versus risk? And what that means is that we can be action oriented, which is we approach risk is like, I see the risk, and what I do when I see the risk is, you know, I jump, because I don't want to feel, when I'm feeling I jump, I go. And there is another person or another type of people that, you know, we take a step back and we have to avoid that risk, right? And so now I'm going to drive you into these 4 patient archetypes into the very, very detail. But first, I would like you to think about and guess which one are you, more than the patient archetype, because these are kind of, they're not personalities, but this is the way we make high-risk decisions. Which one do you guess you are? So are you follow more your own dictate, or you are more, you ask to external people, or you need social proof to make a decision? Do you go when you have a risk in front of you and try to solve it and tackle it right away, or do you take a step back and assess the risk to see how do you tackle it? What do you think about yourself? I want to take a breath here and wait for some answers. Analyzer. That was very quick. So that means a lot of self-awareness also, right? Which is a great skill in business. In business, great business leaders is all about self-awareness. Visionary. There's very interesting visionaries. I'm not going to talk today about, you know, there is a very interesting researches about how many of these, you know, we are widespread in terms of percentage of the population. So there are some that are more and there are some that are less, and there are very, very interesting researches. Analyzer, we have many analyzers, people that avoids, validators. There's not much protectors here. That's interesting. Cool, analyzer. Well, thank you so much for this self-reflection. I hope it helps also. Everything is helpful here. So let's talk about the validation, the validator. The validator has a way of kind of thinking and deciding internal plus approach. Their core need is confirm that I'm making a smart decision. They want that confirmation. So they have already decided before they walked in. Not much people like that, right? But, or maybe yes, not on my side of the business for sure. But this is the type of people that they research you. They don't need convincing you or the types of treatments or even the technologies, right? So they don't need much convincing. They need confirmation. They respect efficiency and they hate feeling sold to. They hate it. So you don't sell to them. And they want to execute on their vision. So an example is, this is the patient who says, I've looked into veneers. What's your approach and timeline? So it's kind of the one who has done some previous work, right? And then if you launch into education that they don't even ask for, just insulted their intelligence. Because what they want is for you to make them feel that they know, that they are making a smart decision. So for these people, the best is that we confirm that they are making a smart decision, unless, of course, obviously, it's it's not the way of going with the treatment, because there is a better approach that you as an expert will recommend, right? But the key point is that you work them out in a way that you make them feel smart and you validate all the research that they have done. So what's the trap here? Potentially, and all of I'm saying is potentially, right? I want you to continue in this session with a very open mind. Everything is potential here. I'm not saying that you all do it or we, but I've seen this many times. So I think it's a great session for you to do a self-assessment and then see, your mind playing around here, right? And also, why not see your internal voice, how it is criticizing to me? I welcome your critique. I welcome your internal system. Well, that's you speaking, and that speaks about you. So it's a great session also to understand your own system, to your own mind, right? So what's the ego trap with these analyzer people? So we want to demonstrate expertise, but they need to feel respected as a capable decision maker. So our expertise demonstration can feel like we are not listening, right? So that could be a trap. We want them to feel listened and respected. Now then we have the visionaries. The visionaries, they are external plus approach. So they go to the risk and then they validate externally. This is a lot of people that is driven by FOMO also, fear of missing the opportunity, also the visionaries, right? I'm a lot of visionary for many decisions. So their core need is to show me what's possible for someone like me. It's show me what's possible. So this is the people that gets excited about the transformation, about the story, about the emotional presentation, about the new smile that I can get, and about that destiny. That's why we call them visionaries. They're excited about that outcome. They buy emotion first and then justify with the logic later. Energy and enthusiasm matter here to sell to them, right? This is the patient who lights up at the DSD situation, at the digital smile design simulation, not situation. So you can connect it to their life. Imagine walking into your daughter's wedding with this smile. That closes them, right? Because it's about that vision. It's all about that vision. So what's the trap here for some of us? We want to be thorough and clinical, and that's okay because it's what we learn in a university in all these years, and of course we are healthcare providers, and it's what we know. We're excellent clinicians, best in class. But these people, what they need is to feel, right? They need to feel that transformation emotionally. So that's the barrier, the invisible barrier that without knowing we may be stepping into. Now we have the analyzer, internal plus avoid. And their core need is help me feel certain that I am not making a mistake. Right? Is they fear making the wrong decision. They are very intellectually engaged, but they are risk averse. They trust their own evaluation with enough data, and they fear making a wrong decision more than missing an opportunity. So these people is all the contrary about the visionaries. You go with the emotional presentation to these people and you try to trigger FOMO, fear of missing the opportunity, and all of that, they're going to fly away. They need time to analyze. They need time for you to answer all those questions. This is the type of people that is going to call you 10 times before they make a decision, because they need to analyze. They need to make sure. And so they need to, all this data, collect all that data and make sure they are making the right decision, right? and they will say, you know, they'll think about it. Um, when these people they think about it, this is the type of people. Most the other three archetypes, if they say they'll think about it, they're probably gonna fly away. This, the analyzer, if they think they're gonna think about it, 90% of the cases they are gonna think about it, and they're gonna get back to you with questions because they need more data, and they need to keep, and they have a long time thinking and evaluating all the decision. So this patient asked about failure rates and longevity studies. Push for same. If you push these people for a same-day decision, you have confirmed that you care more about closing than their well-being, and so they will never come back. So we just have to follow their own, their own pace, their own speed. What is the trap here? Our ego wants commitment, right? We want to sell now, or we want commitment for the next appointment, some sort of commitment. But their need is to feel certain on their own timeline and on their own terms. So the patients build these cases for the analyst, and the pressure destroys these ones. Now we have the protector. They are externally validating, and they avoid risks. So their core need is reassurance me that this is safe and I won't regret it. But safe in all the shapes of safety. Safety for their life, safety in terms of the pain they can feel, of their health, of how are they connected with other people. It's all the different shapes of safety in life. They are cautious and motivated by protecting themselves and family from harm. So that is the thing number one. Is this going to harm me or my family? And harm can also be financial, right? And so they need trust in you as a person before they trust your treatment. So this is the type of patient that you want to gain their trust before, you go through the treatment. It's a relationship first and decision second. But once they trust you, they are loyal for life, right? This patient is the typical who asks, how long have you been doing this? And how many times? And can you prove it? And, they ask for hard proof, for cases, even for references. Can I talk to other patients? They are not questioning your skill. This is important. When they ask, they are not questioning your skill. They just need information to this protective side that they have to feel safe moving forward with you. And so if we get defensive on their questions is when, we are basically confirming that they can trust us, right? So everything that gets us defensive, it's telling the other person in front that they cannot trust in us. So it's about listening, it's about breaking this invisible barrier, and it's about being there for them, asking the questions, and having that patient to go through those questions. So I said how they buy: relationship first, treatment second, need multiple touch points influenced by testimonials and your credentials. Once they trust you, they are loyal for life. This is the type of people that when you launch a product and when you launch your new, let's say if you're building a practice, you just came out of the university and you're selling high ticket, treatments, this patient is going to be very hard to get because you cannot prove your track record. And that is fine. It will arrive that time. But we have to know this, right? What is the trap here? Our mental trap that it can be happening. All of these doubts can be here as disrespect. Their need is to feel safe before they can say yes, and we just have to build a relationship, and the case will follow. All right. So full matrix recap. 4 types, 4 ways of making decisions, 4 core needs. And for our ego traps, our mental system software that we have, and it's not good or bad, it's good it is. And it's a blessing because the only day that the ego won't be here is when we all die. So thank God that we have ego. So for our ego, it can cause some mismatch. So now is when I want you to think about the last patients who said no to you. Which archetype do you think they were when you were presenting? Which archetype, more or less, the ones that you lose more often? Do you see a pattern? And which pattern is that? I'm gonna wait a little bit so we have some answers here. So I'm gonna repeat the question in the chat. The last patients, let's say 5 patients that you lost, that they said no or they never came back to you when you presented a high ticket treatment, what is the pattern? What do you think they were? More validator, visionary, protector, analyzer? Is there a pattern or there is not even a pattern? What do you think? So there is people here that we're losing protectors, analyzer. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. So what I can send to you is when we are. So why we lose these people? Why we lose protectors and analyzers? They are very similar, by the way. Protector, analyzer. Wow, this is a pattern here. Well, this is gonna be mind blowing in the case acceptance mastery. You should all come to case acceptance mastery. Why? Because we're gonna fill the gap in between understanding intellectually with this today. We understand intellectually this concept and really be ready to pitch to a protector and an analyzer. So what's going on here is that probably, and I'm gonna talk about the energy now. We still have 10 minutes more. By the way, do I have time? Okay, thank you. Is it interesting, the topic? Please, big yes here, otherwise they're gonna cut me. So, thank you. So what's going on here, probably, because for that I will have to discuss and understand you, is, that when we are introducing a treatment plan with protectors and analyzer, we're introducing it in a way that is a visionary way. So the emotional presentation, selling the end thing, the storytelling, which is great, it has to happen, but we are not solving the needs of the analyzer and the protector. So that could be the gap that you are having. If you solve that gap, these patients are gonna walk in. We just have to solve that gap, which means you just don't talk to visionaries. Just don't present in that way. You talk to other type of people because you understand that there is other type of people that makes decisions in a different way. And I'm going to tell you more. Because it's the next step of the presentation. It's about energy matching, which together with the ego is how human connection happens. Yes? I recommend you to speak with me. Which, by the way, there's going to be 10 consultations for the ones that want to talk to me, and we can go one-to-one. So by the end of all of this, I'm going to share a link so you can book a consultation with me for free. And hopefully we can meet each other. But yes, after I will get back to you, the marketing team, and I will send you some books that I will highly recommend to understand all of this. And also the patient archetype. So the patient archetype, it's my own framework. I created it. So far there is no book, but you're encouraging me to write one. Maybe I'll write one. But I will share the patient archetype with you all after the event. So what I wanted to share with you now is about energy, right? Because what can be happening is that it's not just the ego and the words that we spell. It's also about the energy that people feels, right? Because imagine that someone walks in your practice and they are very concerned and they are emotionally low. And then you start saying, oh, life is fantastic. You should do this. And look at the smile that you're going to have. And it's all about exciting. Guess what? You've lost them. The first thing that has to happen is to match the energy of the emotions of the person in front of you. People needs to be validated, and what's more, energetically there is this concept of resonance. Why do we very much have friends that look like us? That do we very much relate to people and have great relationships to people that, have the same, we call them vibes, as we have, because that's human resonance. That's the second part of the barrier. And this is the toughest part, because we can change our words, we can, with work, separate from that internal voice, which is the ego. But matching the energy of the person in front of us, it's so difficult. Because it's like, oh, wow, so I have to be low now. Yes, you have to be low. You have to fake it. So you have to fake being in the same emotional state that the person in front of you to match the energy. I'm not saying that, you have to start crying. No, please. But, the energy has to feel the same way. So that's why scripts fail also. So everything I said, it's gonna get you to, to match with analyzers and, and with all this type of people by you matching the storytelling, the questions, by answering the answers, by not getting into the ego trap. And that is most of the work. Now, there is a small piece that's going to make the whole thing the game changer, which is the energy matching, which is the most difficult part. I'm not saying you do it, but the principle is that it's not just about changing words, it's about matching their energy. Human connection requires resonance. Resonance. So we validate each other through resonance, we get along with each other through resonance. And now the thing is that when you learn that and you embody it, which is what we're going to learn in the case acceptance mastery, you can get along in life with anyone you want. You can connect with anyone you want. You can sell treatments to anyone you want, as far as they can pay it, of course. So, yeah, when someone is in concern, nervous, hesitant, uncertain, and you respond with excitement, there's a mismatch. They feel unheard, unmet, connection breaks. So this is also a reflection, right? The reflection is why, if you think about the ones who answered and the ones that are working with me, why are you losing analyzers and protectors? From a storytelling side and from a wording side, it can happen that you are telling a story about a visionary. But I'm asking you this: what about your energy? Do you have by default, which is fantastic? We don't have to get rid of our identity and personality. We don't want that. We are who we are. But for that single moment in which we are presenting to the patient, can we be in the shoes of an analyzer and matching the energy of an analyzer? This is the challenge for you all. This is the challenge for the people, for the ones of you that are answering that you lose analyzers and you lose protectors. And well, the cool thing is that you can say no. You can say, fuck it, I'm not gonna do this and all that stuff. But you can also say yes and try and see how it works. That's human connection. Now, yeah, if you say that the energy, this is not the energy who I am. So what's the reason? At the end of the day, the reason is the ego. So the system is connected. It's the brain which stores the ego in the default mode network, and it has the belief system that is assessing everything, even what I'm saying, and based on that, is telling, it's assigning meanings to my word. You right now are assigning a meaning to my word. But it's also assessing the situation, and then it's also us, the ones who say, I don't want to match the energy. That's the brain, the default mode network, our identity protection system, because we are scared of not being ourselves. It's just how it works. It's science. You can check it out, and it's okay. Just know you have a choice. So we protect our identity instead of adapting to their identity. And that's human connection. So now you understand the ego barrier, the 4 patient archetypes, why energy matching matters. So the 2 big things here are The ego barrier and the energy matching. The energy matching and the ego barrier, they reinforce each other. At the end of the day, the ego is the one who says, I want my energy to match or not. So everything is dominated by the brain and the default mode network there. And then through the nervous system, it's communicating to your entire body and it's making you matching the energy or not. Right? So it's just the internal system, it's just how it works. Now, understanding is not implementation, right? Knowing the archetypes isn't the same as having automated all this and implementing your day-to-day. So, and all of that, how to implement this in the day-to-day and how to embody this is what we're going to teach in the case acceptance mastery. Now we're going to leaving you with this, and my colleague Brandon is going to take on for the next exciting session. But I want you to leave with this question, and it's again about you. Which archetype do you default when presenting from the 4 archetypes? And well, this question we already said. Which archetype have you been consistently losing in your presentations? That gap, in that gap, is where your next, big bucks, your next big treatments, your next growth in your dental practice is. And it's all about adapting and breaking the human connection barriers with these 2 keys. Getting past of our own egos, which is one of the invisible barriers, and the second barrier is matching the energy of the person. So hopefully you all have enjoyed this presentation. I will be later in the Q&A, and I will be excited also to chat with you all and to continue developing this topic, which it's also very, very exciting with me because, it's the topic of my life. So thank you all. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you in a bit.